Hello, and welcome to We Live for Saturday, your favorite college football podcast. I'm your co-host, Mike, and with me, as always, is your other co-host, John. John, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good.
And how was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. Disappointed in Gopher hockey, man.
Ooh.
Sorry to talk. I know it's a football podcast, but
No, that's legit.
this is, and they were playing one of the top 5 teams in the country too. So to be fair, but Minnesota Gophers, their talent is always there to win a national title. That's never a question. I'm just really getting down on our head coach, and I've had questions about it before, but now I'm really feeling it.
Right.
And it's sad because I really like Bob Motzko, but I'm not sure he's the answer to get us across the finish line, because that's what we need to do. And it's just inexcusable that the Gophers haven't won a national title in hockey in 20 years. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
I mean, if you had said that to us when we were kids, we would have laughed.
Absolutely.
It's like state of hockey, all that stuff.
No.
So yeah, there's no excuse to not win the big one. And so far, let's be real, Motzko, when the bright lights have been on, he's been good at times but not good enough.
Yep, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, the expectations of Minnesota for hockey is basically the same expectations Ohio State has in football. So yeah. So other than that, fine. Things are good. No major complaints here. What about you, man? How was your weekend?
It was really good. I went to a concert on Saturday.
Cool.
And it was the Current's 20th anniversary party, the Current radio station.
Oh, nice.
And so they had a few bands playing, but the one I wanted to see is the headliner, Beach Bunny.
Oh, right on.
And it was funny because my significant other and I are big Beach Bunny fans, but you could tell that a lot of the older Current fans who were there just for the birthday party weren't.
Yeah.
So when you're singing along to all the words, they're like they're looking at you like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is a rock show, man. What do you mean? When did you lose your way? What happened to you that you're looking down at people having a good time at a show? What happened to you along the way? You used to acknowledge joy.
Yep.
What happened, man? That's what I want to know. I want to know. So it was great, except for it was all great, awesome, and they sounded awesome live. So I would not, Beach Bunny, not a sponsor, but if they want us to plug their tour, we'll do it. So could be, but yeah, if you want something to listen to, hit up, listen to some Beach Bunny. It's good stuff.
Right on. Love it.
But I got into trouble. John, I don't know what happened. I don't know when it happened, but I had 4 drinks, and not ridiculous drinks. I'm talking hard cider, and dry hard cider with a decent alcohol content, but over 6 hours, I had 4 drinks, and I was hammered.
Really?
Hammered.
I mean, 6 hours, that's pretty spread out, man.
Really spread out. I thought I even drank some water along the way. I thought I was being all responsible, but I don't know, man, something happened. And I just drink so infrequently.
Yeah.
That when I do, is that my reality now? Now I'm a 2 drinks, 3, and I'm a little loopy kind of person. Because I used to laugh at my mom for being that person.
Yeah.
And it's so it's just funny.
It happens, just to a lot of people, I think. And you know what, though? You save money. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Especially at these events, these venues and things like that, you're spending so much money for one drink. Like a cider is what? How much was it? $10, something like that?
Yeah. No, you're right. It was, I think it was 9. I mean, first half's pretty legit.
Yeah.
As far as that stuff goes. But yeah, no, you're totally right.
Yeah. So, hey, man, great. Good for you. That's great. I'm glad you had a good time, man. Oh,
it was fun. I haven't been in a show in First Ave in a while. So
it's been years, man. We gotta get back there for sure.
Yeah. Great time always.
Cool. Awesome.
Should we talk college football?
Yeah, let's talk some college football. It's crazy. It feels weird that it's over, and this is our first podcast post national championship, and now that's what do we do now? But we got some things to talk about, so we'll see.
It's funny though, because we went through this last year and we were like, oh, what are we going to talk about through the whole offseason? And then I think there was only 1 week where we were like, we don't have anything to talk about.
Yep.
And there somehow seems to be consistent news throughout, which is always the current events. And then there's all the other things you can do, just exploring where different teams are at, because that's always updating now too.
Yep.
And then you start to get into spring ball. And so, like, this sport kind of never sleeps.
It's true. Not anymore. Used to.
Yeah, no, it used to for sure. It used to for long months at a time. But the sport kind of is always going, which is good because, we're narcissists who need microphones.
I mean, I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue against it. I think that's what every podcaster is to a point, really. I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Oh
yeah,
absolutely.
We're just happy to admit that we are. So
yeah, we're not hiding from it. We crave your adoration. Please like and subscribe.
Follow, comment, all that stuff. Retweet. Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. Love that. All right. So, John, we had an old-fashioned interconference coach poaching. So do you want to tell the people what happened?
Yeah, well, this was an unexpected move.
Out of left field. For sure.
The national title winning team, Ohio State Buckeyes, lost Jim Knowles to Penn State. And
defensive coordinator Jim Knowles. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And who was lights out. It was incredible. One of the best defensive coordinators in the country, clearly.
Amazing.
Went to Penn State. So at first I was just confused. You just won a national title and now you're leaving. Like, I don't get it.
Seems weird.
And I understand Penn State's got a lot of money. They've already got a built-in, amazing roster. So, he'll obviously be able to step right in and, have one of the best defenses in the Big Ten, clearly. So that's not, that wasn't weird. It was just kind of like someone with the amount of money and clout that Ohio State has is to lose them to anyone, even Penn State, is just weird.
To a lateral move.
Yeah, it is. Oh, very much a lateral move.
Yeah. So that's, it's crazy. It's crazy for Ohio State, but just ran it off en route to a national title to lose to, Penn State for a coordinator. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Tom Fornelli, but I will say his take was pretty funny in that he said this is James Franklin's first win over Ohio State since 2016.
That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, that's good. I gotta give credit where credit's due.
Oh, absolutely. That's solid. Yeah. It's just wild because it just this wasn't a thing when you and I were growing up watching Big Ten football, and it wasn't a thing that much, that not so long ago that you just didn't. There was like a gentleman's agreement. You didn't poach from other teams, whether it was players, coaches, whatever. That's just not what you did.
Assistant coaches occasionally would get poached. But the idea that players would get poached, no. And head coaches, like the Chip Kelly thing, getting poached to be, not just to be an assistant, that's weird, but just the fact that he was poached at all from Big Ten school to Big Ten school. Because I believe, and I think if you look back at the historical evidence, it bears out that when Jim Delaney was commissioner, there was a gentleman's agreement to not steal head coaches.
Yeah.
You could steal assistants, as long as you didn't get too ridiculous about it. But you cannot pluck a head coach. And it really never happened, I don't believe, in his entire tenure.
Not to my knowledge. I don't recall any of it happening.
But Jim Delaney's been gone a long time now.
Yeah.
We're way past him. So I just don't believe that exists anymore. And it just shows everybody's open season. That even mighty Ohio State, winner of their 9th national title, their 3rd national title this millennium, and they lost their defensive coordinator, and there was nothing they could do about it. Now, what do you think? I'm curious. What are your thoughts on the rumors that there was some behind-the-scenes drama?
I mean, that's the only thing that would explain it to me. is there he just didn't get along with somebody. I know you and I heard that it was a defensive lines coach, and which like again, like that would kind of make some sense to me that there was just too much drama going on.
Larry Johnson, by the way, Ohio State
Okay.
defensive line coach, Larry Johnson. Yeah.
So if that's the only reason I could see that moving, whether it was him, whether he just wasn't totally clicking with Ryan Day, you know, I just don't see any other reason to leave. You know, it wasn't, you know, money, that's for sure. It's not like Penn State is going to be paying him like exponentially more than Ohio State. And like you said, as far as like a move, it's lateral professionally. So
yeah,
man. That's the only explanation I can think of. So
yeah, people were trying to say, they're like, oh, well, he's going back home. And I was like, he's from Philadelphia.
mm-hmm.
That's not really anywhere near State College.
It's pretty far.
It's pretty far.
I mean, everything's pretty far from State College.
So yeah, it's closer to home.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't know if it's enough closer to home.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Ohio's that far, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's enough closer to home to that's the answer. And yeah, the two rumors I heard was either or the Larry Johnson, Jim Knowles thing, or that the rumor, friend of the pod, Max, said was that Ryan Day went to Jim Knowles after the first Oregon game and was like, we got torched. Some things are going to change. And Jim Knowles didn't take to that, even though it obviously, if it happened, it worked. Like whatever they did, whatever they changed, and we can talk about, you know, the schematics, but the main thing is like whatever they changed, it worked.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's crazy. But for me, John, this is about where Penn State is as a program right now, right here in the early months of 2025. So they're going to pay Jim Knowles north of $3 million a year, which is a massive salary.
Mm-hmm.
But to explain where Penn State is now, I've got to tell a little story to talk about how we got to this exact moment. So our story starts in Ann Arbor. Jim Harbaugh's little remembered spread offense phase at Michigan was a total failure. Do you remember that?
Yep.
When I'm trying to, oh man, I can see the quarterback in my head. I can't remember his name, but he was inconsistent as all get out. Shea Patterson.
Yes. I was like Irish, something Irish.
Yeah. Yeah. He was inconsistent as all get out. The spread didn't work. They got crushed multiple times by Ohio State, right? And eventually Jim Harbaugh realized something. He realized that Michigan was never, ever going to out-athlete Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't going to out-recruit the Buckeyes. They weren't going to beat them with talent development. The Buckeyes were too big, too fast, too agile, too skilled. So Harbaugh decided to do something different. Harbaugh decided to out-tough the Buckeyes. He recruited a roster filled with big, fast, physical dudes who like to put up a fight, taught them to be so tough that they could grind their opposition into powder over the course of a 4-quarter game. And Harbaugh rode his power run game / play action passing game and physical in-your-face defense to 3 consecutive Big Ten titles and a national title before bolting to the NFL. So what does this have to do with Penn State, you might ask? And I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you. James Franklin and Penn State are in the same position Jim Harbaugh and Michigan once were in.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get over the Ohio State hump. James Franklin and Penn State have realized they're not ever going to out-recruit Ohio State. They're never going to catch them. They're never going to have as many resources. It's never, ever, ever going to happen. So how do they win a title anyway? Well, Penn State decided last year they spent an insane amount of money to steal Andy Kotelnicki to be their offensive coordinator from Kansas to put up, video game numbers. This year, they steal Jim Knowles, arguably the best defensive coordinator in all of college football, to run their defense. So Penn State has decided that they can't catch up all the way in NIL, but what they can do is divert the revenue that they do have to spend insane amounts of money on the best assistant coaches so that they can overcome whatever faults James Franklin has, and that uber elite coaching can help overcome any talent discrepancy they have with Ohio State and to a lesser extent with Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Will it work? I don't know, man. I don't know if that works, but you know what? I give them credit for trying.
Yeah.
You have to gain an edge somewhere. Penn State is trying to separate itself by X's and O's. They're trying to get to a level where they can win a national title. And also, I think this proves something else, that Penn State, once again, the rumors are true. They are all in on winning a national title next season. They got the guys to stay in college that they could get. They invested a ton of money to retain players, to go into the transfer portal. So they're going to try to really upgrade at receiver. I saw that Cam Porter at Boise State, former Hoosier Cam Porter, is in the transfer portal. I wonder if he couldn't end up in Happy Valley, right? And I just think, man, it's natty or bust. It's natty or bust for James Franklin. And James Franklin now enters the pressure that Jim Harbaugh had and the pressure that Ryan Day had. But you know what? Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day both won national titles. So,
yeah.
What do you think? Do you think Penn State has any chance? Do you think this gambit has any chance of working in the short term with a national title next year?
I mean, it has a chance. Do I think it has high of a probability as Ohio State and Michigan? No. I think it could, but the stars are really going to have to align. We've seen that there's still problems as far as passing the ball. Like, you need more than Tyler Warren to throw the ball. You need wide receivers.
Well, Warren's gone too. Warren's gone.
Yeah.
So they really need wide receivers.
Exactly. So who are you going to throw the ball to? That's my concern is on offense. I know they have a ton of talent there. They have a lot of stars there, whatnot, all that kind of stuff. They recruit incredibly well, but I don't see a lot of development in the right way that you need to see if you're going to be able to win a national title like you saw with Ohio State and Michigan. You know, Michigan, not necessarily through the air as much. I mean, they had J.J. McCarthy, so he made receivers look really good. And
I was going to say, he was pretty great.
He was great. And he had a couple of receivers that were pretty solid. But
yeah.
Ohio State, obviously, they're on a whole nother level when it comes to their receivers. But I think that I just don't think that Penn State is able to get the same level of wide receivers anymore, anyways, than Ohio State. And I don't think Drew Aller is J.J. McCarthy. And I'm not sure if he's Will Howard, you know. So
he hasn't been clutch, really.
No.
Except for against USC.
Yeah.
He was clutch when he needed to be.
Sure.
But he misses a lot of open guys still. But maybe he can tighten that up. Maybe with better receivers, who can create more separation. Maybe they bring in better receivers. Maybe Andy Kotelnicki has seen Drew Aller now. He knows what he's good at, what he's not good at. Yeah. Maybe he can revamp the offense a little bit and play to his strengths. Because man, that's my issue with Penn State too. Because I think the defense is going to be there. I think the running game is going to be there. What's going to happen with the passing game?
Yeah.
Well, is it going to be national title level? Because they're not going to be able to just run the ball. They can run the ball and beat a lot of people. A lot of people just running the ball. But they're going to have to throw the ball against in the big games, you know?
Well, and that's been the story the last couple of years. And it's been really confusing because we used to see at least one or two wide receivers that were outstanding on Penn State's roster. And now it just hasn't happened in a long time. And, you know, I think it's it's a desperation move in a lot of ways, because I know Franklin, and I'm sure, you know, everybody over at Penn State is tired of coming in, you know, as a 10-2, 11-1 team and not winning or making it to the Big Ten championship game. They want to prove that they're that caliber. And so, you got to spend money to get there, and you got to get the best guys, and they're doing that. So do I think there's an opportunity there? Yes. would I say that like, oh yeah, it's going to work the exact same way as it did for Michigan or the exact same way it did for Ohio State? No, I just don't see it at that level. But they're doing the best they can to compete against that, and this is a major move in that direction. So I commend them for that.
They're all in, baby.
Yep.
They're all in on it, and I am here for it because either it's going to be awesome and we're going to get a third consecutive Big Ten title with a third different team, which would be bananas, or James Franklin's going to take heat like he's never taken before. And there's really not going to be a lot of in between this year, I don't think.
Even if he wins 11 games, people are still going to get on him.
Oh, people are going to be so mad. Are you kidding me? If he goes 10-2 next year and then wins the bowl game, but misses the playoff, or even if he makes the playoff and does, he won 2 games this year, maybe he only wins 1 next year. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yep. People are going to be upset.
And remember, James Franklin can still be the first coach to lose a home playoff game because nobody did it this year.
Yeah, maybe.
But yes, I wish we had that problem too. Totally with you. No argument.
Yeah.
All right. Should we talk about our, in the deep winter when it's cold, as men keep themselves warm, they think about power. And so John and I are thinking about what would we do if we were tapped tomorrow as commissioner of college football and could send off executive orders to a bunch of yes men to sign off on whatever we wanted. How would we change the sport? So I'm excited about this. I don't know what you've said, what you're going to say. You don't know what I'm going to say. I think we should go. Don't you think we should go back and forth, or do you want to do all 5 years at first right away? Do they kind of feed on each other, or do you want to go every other?
I think let's go back and forth. Let's do a little back and forth. I think that just kind of be fun there. Yeah. So top 5.
Yep, top 5. Do you want to go first, or should I? What?
Oh, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
Yeah.
All right. Number 1 on my list, and I think this is the most important thing that we need to have happen. You've heard me talk about it before. I'm going to be a little bit of a broken record. We need to broker a collective bargaining agreement with the players. Make the players employees and sign them to multi-year. I'm talking 2 to 4 year contracts, complete with buyouts. So if they want to leave school before the contract is over to play somewhere else, the new school has to pay their buyout. That way, the schools can recoup money if a guy is plucked by a richer school, which will help them replace that player and continue to be competitive. That's far better than today's system, where any player can leave at any time, and the school that identified you and developed you gets nothing. Nothing. Right? They're just left out in the cold. Mm-hmm. So I think from that perspective, it would promote a lot more parity. And I also think if you made the buyouts big enough, it would discourage most schools from spending crazy amounts of money to buy out players, making it more likely that players spend their whole careers playing for one school. Mm-hmm. Are guys still going to transfer? Yes, of course. They always will, and they always have, and there will always be tampering, unfortunately. I don't think there's any putting that genie back in the proverbial bottle, right?
Yeah.
The tampering thing is going to be a tampering thing. But they can make sure that we create guardrails so schools are rewarded for funding and developing talent. There should be special TV revenue bonuses also available are you ready for this? Only to guys who play their entire career for one school. So this won't stop guys from transferring, but it makes it more likely that guys will stay at the same Big Ten institutions for 3 to 5 years before moving on from college football. Now, I know what you're thinking, and no, I don't think this rule should apply to players transferring from Group of 5 or FCF schools up to the Power 4. I think they should be exempt from that, and they should be eligible for the retainment bonus themselves if they spend 2+ years with the same team at their new higher level of competition, and don't pull a Cam Ward who went from Incarnate Word to Washington State to Miami. Mm-hmm. Maybe he would have stayed at Wazoo. You know what I'm saying? If there was a bonus available to him for staying there.
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, if not, then Miami would have had to buy Wazoo out. Just like Wazoo would have had to buy Incarnate Word out.
Yep.
You know? So I think that's the most important thing for me that I need to see change to make college football more equitable and give the players what they've always deserved.
Yeah. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that's great. It's amazing how much thought you put into this. I think it's amazing, and you're absolutely spot on. And I nominate you for what my next one is going to be. But to add on, which was actually going to be one of my things, but it just kind of goes along with what you're saying. So I'm gonna throw it in there.
Yeah.
I have like 10 things, but I'll pare it down, and this one just kind of cuts a little bit. Is that in talking about Cam Ward and how many transfers he made? 3 different schools. I mean, why don't we limit the amount of transfers? I think there also needs to be something like that, like on how many times you can. And
interesting.
I just don't think that's not. This is not my number one thing, but this is
okay.
just a piggyback off of what you were saying.
Yeah.
I just think it is a little ridiculous at a certain point in time, like limit it to twice, I guess. Like which I guess, and maybe that works for him, but there's people that seem to be leaving every other year or every year, and it just seems to be a little much, or at least a time limit. You have to spend at least 2 years there if you're going to transfer again or something like that. I don't know, but it's just a lot. And we can talk about the transfer portal a lot here, and I'll up later. But what my number one thing is, which is going to go into my number 2. I need a commissioner of sorts. I want there to be. I was reading an article about college football commissioners, and there was someone who came up with an idea of putting. And I'm sorry I don't have it here to give this person credit. I apologize, but 3 people basically, essentially, as a commissioner, and they all, are the final votes on what it is. And obviously, 2 against 1, whoever, that's the one that goes, and that's what happens. And I think because there needs to be some kind of. There's so much going on now in the world of college football to control and to manage with NIL and with the transfer portal and all this stuff that's going on. I think that there needs to be some form or a head of this entire thing, because the NCAA is freaking worthless, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And incapable of handling such a job. It's a big
They
job.
had their chance, they failed.
Exactly. So someone, and I think they should be elected kind of like the president, every 4 or 5 years, like there's a new election of new. So like it changes. So you're not stuck with these people. They're not the freaking Supreme Court.
So who gets to vote?
Forever. I think every commissioner and I don't know. What do you think? Like presidents, like of universities, get to like throw in a vote.
Oh, interesting.
Like an ADs,
I thought you meant like everybody.
Oh, I mean that'd be cool, but no, I'm
like
I'm
open
thinking,
it all the way up to like a fan vote.
I mean that'd be cool, but I was thinking,
or that could be like a third of the formula along with the people. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that'd
just
be cool.
a thought.
If we're not,
but no, you're saying like university presidents and stuff like that.
Yeah, like university presidents, ADs. Maybe head coaches can throw in their tiny little bit of feelings about it too. But I think mainly university presidents and ADs. But people need to be reelected, or there needs to be like a term limit, like you can only serve this many times, just like the presidency. So that's my thing. I just think there needs to be some central control over what's going on. So,
dude, I love that.
Yeah,
the commissioner of college football.
Oh, and I'd nominate you because of what you just said. So,
oh man,
you could do it.
I would accept the position. I'm no question about it. Well, thank you. All right. Number 2 on my list is let's keep the first and second round of the playoffs on campus. The semifinals can be divided up among the major bowls. I would say make the Rose Bowl a permanent host site and rotate the other site among the Cotton, Peach, Orange, Fiesta, Sugar Bowls.
Sure.
That'll likely never happen because the bowls are too powerful, but I would absolutely love to see 2 rounds of playoff games on campus. Would be epic. The crowds would be insane. And at the end of the day, isn't that better than some sterile, neutral site pro stadium with zero character hosting a wealthy, tepid crowd that isn't even cheering that loudly?
Every time. Yes.
Like, what are we even talking about here?
Yeah.
Like, put them on campus for the most part.
Yeah. You're getting big people like Joel Klatt weighing in on this and agreeing with you and saying the same things. It just makes the most sense. Everyone saw how successful
You still get 3 bowl games.
Yeah.
You still get 3 games. The Bulls can have the semifinals, and then you have the national title game.
Yeah.
And so my number 3 actually kind of goes with number 2. And I'm going to say have the national title game rotate among host cities all over the country.
Yes.
Not just the same southern and western cities we're used to with the major bowls. College football is, in my opinion, our national sport, and its title game deserves to be played in cities all over this great nation.
100% agree.
Indianapolis, Chicago, Minneapolis, Columbus, etc. should all be host cities for this college football national title game. There's no reason the game shouldn't be in a Big Ten city just as often as it's in the SEC footprint.
Yep.
The Big Ten and SEC are generating most of the revenue. So here's how I think they should split the game over a 10-year span this way. 4 years Big Ten cities, 4 years in the SEC footprint, 2 years in the ACC and Big 12 footprint.
Yeah.
That's about as fair as it could be from a revenue sharing perspective.
I totally agree. I think that's a great idea. Spread the wealth, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be so fun. And can you imagine the amount, and you can still have them in your pro stadiums or whatever, but I can just can you imagine the craziness? I can picture a crowd lining up 12 hours in advance, sitting, waiting outside to get into this game in the freezing cold, just ready to get it. And, and then you still have the games most of the time indoors, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. If you want it, if 1 year it happens to be Chicago's year, that's in Soldier Field, baby.
Yeah.
Show up and play.
Absolutely. I agree.
I want to see it, but it could also Indianapolis, Minneapolis, some of these other places have stadiums.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can even go to Baltimore. You can go to, there's, and that's, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go to giant MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. So there's lots of places to go.
Yes, there's so many places you could go, but I do think it should be equally split between the Big Ten and the SEC, and then you should still have some Big 12 and ACC representation, but just less.
Yes, agreed.
And also the ACC is kind of the same footprint as the SEC anyway.
Yeah.
So they're already, they're kind of baked into the cake a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, you are up. Is it your number 3 now?
My number 2.
Your 2. Okay.
Yeah. Everyone across the board plays 9 conference games.
Yes.
That's it. Every single conference, every team plays 9 freaking conference games. That's it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing this crap from down south. And our schedule is so much harder because we play in the SEC. So 8 conference games is the same as the Big Ten's 9. No, it's not. It's just not.
It's not. And you know what? The ACC's especially isn't.
Yes, absolutely.
You're playing 8 conference games in the ACC with some of the teams at the bottom of that league. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. There's some poorly funded, poorly attended, nobody, a lot of people don't care schools in the ACC when it comes to football. So I don't want to, I don't want to hear it from anybody. You're exactly right. 10 out of 10, no notes. Play 9 conference games, you cowards.
Exactly.
You cowards. Yep. And you know what? Then SEC teams, then if you go 9-3 and you played 9 conference games, then maybe we can talk.
Yep.
Maybe. Depending on the year. No guarantees.
But I think there'd be more of an argument, at least. I'd sit and listen.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Love that.
Yeah. Yep. That's it.
Great. Since I already did my 2 and 3, why don't you do your number 3 now also?
Oh, okay. Well, my number 3, and this is very petty of me, but I agree with James Franklin.
Interesting.
I think you should be a conference member to make it into the college football playoff.
Ooh.
I think that's the only way to go. That's just me. Maybe, I thought he had a point, and James Franklin was
Oh
my guy,
man.
and I just think that's the way it should be. Just join a conference, you cowards.
BYU did. BYU finally did.
Look at that.
What?
Look at that.
What you Catholics are better than the Mormons now? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Join a conference.
Yep.
Do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what though? Now that they made the big run that they did, I don't think they're ever gonna. Like, I honestly think that they were this close to joining a conference for like the last 10 years.
Yep.
And now they made this big run and they got this big TV payout that they don't have to share with any conference members. And NBC said they would pay them enough money to keep them in the ballpark of like the Big Ten and SEC teams. So I don't know, man. I know how badly you wanted Notre Dame in the Big Ten, but I feel like it's less likely now that they've done what they've done.
I agree. It's probably less likely, but there's still a path of possibility, and which is not necessarily one that either of us want. And that's if the Big Ten and the SEC expand to like 20 to 20 plus teams and do 10 conference games and basically refuse or not have the ability to schedule Notre Dame. And therefore Notre Dame will not have the strength of schedule most years to make it into the college football playoff.
Sure.
It's a long shot and so much needs to work for that to happen. So I agree. I think that it's very, very, very unlikely, but
their strength of schedule was borderline this year. I mean, if they had gone 10-2, they wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
So their strength of schedule was borderline this year. Part of that was Florida State being so down. And also Purdue just being historically down.
Yeah. There's still a possibility, but I agree. I think it's dwindling. So, but nonetheless, I still think you should be a conference member.
I love that level of petty, John. I live for it. It's good. All right. My number 4. Ban all polls until the first week of October. No preseason rankings at all.
Yes.
I would also require AP top 25 voters to watch, or at the very least study, a lot more ball than they currently do. At the end of the week, they would have to go to a test center and pass a quiz about what happened that week. And if they don't score well enough on the test, their vote for the week doesn't count.
Love that.
They aren't cast aside, though, for a single failure or even multiple failures. Their vote just doesn't count for the week if they can't pass the test about what happened on the field in that week. So there would be kinks to work out, but I just think that would be a much better process than the way the AP poll is currently constructed, when a lot of the votes are beat writers who, let's be real, these people spend so much time covering the teams they are paid to cover that they aren't able to pay nearly enough attention to the sport as a whole. Dude, I love Justin Gard. I think he's a great representative in the media. I think he covers the Gophers in an enthusiastic and fair way. I don't think Justin Gard. Do you think Justin Gard has enough time to justify his vote to study what happens with all the other jobs he has, with other teams around town and all his media obligations? And maybe he does.
Yeah.
And maybe he does. But I want him to have to prove it. And not him specifically. Not picking on Justin Gard.
We just know how involved he is and like how busy he is as a media person around here.
I'm just saying that I know he has a million jobs.
Yeah, which is awesome.
So good for him. He's really talented for sure. But I just don't. I think you should have to prove your knowledge if you're going to vote in these polls and have it count.
Sure.
Because otherwise, what we have is these baked-in biases that are the same every year, and they favor the same schools, and they're and they are cause problems for the same schools. same teams are underranked, same teams are overranked.
Yep.
Like, yeah. So I would want to fix that. And then also I would have devise a similar program for the college football playoff committee to test voters and only count their opinions, like I said, if they demonstrate sufficient knowledge of the game from week to week.
Mm-hmm.
So that way we can also be grading the graders. And I just think that's a much more egalitarian, much less biased system than what you have now, which is, you know, people in dark, smoke-filled rooms deciding on a whim what matters to them, you know, based on the interest that they have.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm with you. All right. My number 4 is only one transfer portal window.
Ooh, okay.
I understand the argument for 2.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's too many. I feel like the decision needs to be made. It needs to be more serious. I feel like it's just too easy to be like, go in, go out, maybe not, you know, and it causes the coaches, it causes, you know, your fellow players, the fans, everybody, like a lot of unnecessary anxiety when, you know, especially the coaches need to be focusing on other things, which I know that's just part of the job now. That's what it's become. But I think at least one transfer portal window, if not, just change for when it happens.
So when do you want it then to be?
I mean, I think there should be an opportunity after spring ball, you know, where or either there should be that when the one transfer portal happens, or after I guess, like, what would you say, like summer or fall camp, like right, you know, be able to move ahead. I just think there should just be one. Like, I don't know. I mean, for me, spring ball is what sounds good.
Sure.
But because that just gives the teams plenty of time then over the summer and into the fall to prep for what they have. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting idea. I don't know if I would personally go there, but like I would, but ideally I see the appeal of having a more restricted window for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when these guys are on contracts, we could have. So if we had the collective bargaining agreement that I mentioned earlier, we could have very small transfer windows, very small free agent windows.
True.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm with you in that sense for sure.
Cool.
All right. Finally, and this is a little bit of a pet project of mine, I want the college football apparatus to support youth, high school, and collegiate level girls and women's football. I think it's insane that football is by far the most popular sport in the country. The NFL is the most popular league. NCAA football is the second most popular league among team sports to watch. But half the population isn't playing.
Yeah.
Half. That's crazy. And look, if we want football to still be in 50 years what it is now, we don't want football to go the way of baseball, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want football to be a sport that used to be a big deal, but now people, like, it has its fans, but like really people, you know, a lot of people just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I think
don't let soccer become the nation's sport. Come on.
Well, yeah, exactly. I would say, or even a better example than baseball might be boxing. Boxing was wildly popular, and then it became more restricted and more elitist, and now it's not. Now, you know, boxing is a problem. And you look at the NBA. The NBA has lost almost half its viewership since 2012.
Yep.
So, like, there's no guarantee that these good times are going to go on forever. But if you want to make a better chance they're going to go on forever, we need to get girls and women more invested in football. And the way that you create better fans is to create opportunities for them to play from when they're kids all the way up to the highest level. And look, I think it would have to start as flag football because for whatever reason, people go crazy at the idea of women hitting each other in team sports, even though in fighting, they'll let women beat each other up in MMA.
But in hockey, they can't check.
But in hockey, they can't check. So in football, I'm sure they couldn't hit. So, okay, take out the offensive and defensive lines. Fine. Play 7-on-7. That's
Yes.
fun anyway. And that's also something different than what the boys are playing.
True.
And I would put it in the spring so it's not competing with football directly at all. And so guys like me who love their school, like you and me, who love their school and are football junkies. Dude, if there was high level, Big Ten level women's flag football in the spring when there's nothing going on but basketball and baseball and hockey's over by then, right?
Yep.
Like, what are you going to watch? Golf? Get out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I would watch that. I'd sign me up.
Dude, if they were playing at Huntington Bank Stadium on
Saturday, how cool would that be?
How much are season tickets, bro? I'll show up.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll pay my chest.
Yeah.
It'll be better weather than the men playing, probably.
It's true.
You know?
That'd be awesome.
So that's what I think my long-term goal when I'm impossibly wealthy and can just do things on a whim is to make girls and women's flag football a really popular national sport.
I think you just won as like the most fun topic to fix college football. I think that was awesome and absolutely, and something that you don't hear anyone talk about. So
no, I never hear anyone talking about it. I don't understand it.
I don't either. That's
I played flag football with women. I played in co-ed leagues. So there are already women who want to play.
Yep.
Like you give them the opportunity to play as girls.
Yeah.
They'll pick it over. I mean, what are their options for spring sports? Right? Because soccer is a fall sport. Volleyball and basketball are winter sports. Mm-hmm. If you're a girl, what are the options for spring sports?
Like tennis,
golf,
and golf and track.
Tennis?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are individual sports.
Yep.
Like if you want a team sport, and most people, a lot of people prefer team sports, and a lot of people are in individual sports, and that's cool. Good for you. I'm into team sports.
Same.
Yeah. Primarily.
Well, I like it, man. I mean it. I would totally go to a lot of games if that was a thing. For sure.
Oh man, it'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We could have a whole different set of announcers that we're not already sick of. We could have new announcers that we don't know anything about, so we don't hate them yet.
But we will.
We'll as soon as they agree with a call that I think is wrong. They will be just as hated as anybody else. We will be equal opportunity haters.
That's right. That's how it works, right? Shit. Yeah. Well, mine's a little less fun. I could go another fun route, but I also think that I would create I would upset a lot of people if I went this one route.
You're gonna tell me that off the air with that.
I will.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what my actual thing is first, and then I'll tell you what it was, but we're not going to get into it.
Okay.
We'll see. I'm just nervous. I'm nervous about it.
Sure.
So what mine is, and this is a big one that's been going around a long time, but it still nothing's being done about it. And a lot of people have talked about it ad nauseum. We really need to fix the targeting rule. There needs to be levels to it. There really has to be levels of severity. And therefore, the punishment match whatever that level is, and not automatically eject someone for an entire 60 minutes. Like it's just too much, man. Like
changing the results of games.
It really is.
Yeah.
And some of it is, a lot of these targeting calls that we've seen, I get it. You're trying to protect the players. Like I understand that, and I'm in support of that. But like I said, the severity level or the intention, level needs to be there. Like, because you can tell when someone was it's inertia, man. You're moving one way, the other guy's moving another way. It's an impossible thing to prevent, for you to stop. And you can even see them trying to, but then that's a targeting call and you're out, and that's it. And you lose that player. And I don't think that's fair. I think, and not to the team, but also, and not to the player. Like that's ridiculous. And now if you see it's intentional, like someone is launching, get that, person out of there.
But unless they're trying to kill somebody, I don't want to see somebody kicked out of a game.
Yes.
I don't want to see them kicked out of a game unless they're clearly like launching from outer space, or it's like 5 seconds after the whistle
Yeah.
and they come in and spear somebody, or like, you know, if it's really egregious. But most of the time, these are honest mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a 15-yard penalty is more than enough.
Yeah. And if it's in, you know, like maybe like the maximum tier, like you said, like someone is just really trying to hurt somebody. Yeah. Okay, fine. You're ejected. You're out. Like, cause that's not acceptable. And then maybe the middle tier is you're out for an entire series, you know, you don't get to
out
play.
for the drive. Sure.
You know, and then after that 15 yards, sure. Then, you know, that's kind of the levels I would see, or, you know, something like that anyways, would make sense to me, because it's just too much to kick them out of the game immediately. I think it's too much. So,
yeah. Well, you're welcome, everybody. We fixed college football.
That's it. That's it.
We did it.
You know, let's hire us as commissioners. I think we could fix it overnight. And, you know, I think the quick and easy start is just, you know, 9 conference games right there. That's the first one I'd say. That goes,
that's what we're running on. If
this
were a political ticket, we're running on 9 conference games for all. 9 for all. And all for 9.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Oh man, I want to see the look on Lane Kiffin's face when they tell him he has to play another SEC game every year. I want to be there with popcorn.
That would be amazing. Well, I was going to mention something about blue blood status, but I'm not going to get into that. So that's a whole nother thing.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, we had that argument on Twitter, but we don't need to get into it. We don't need to poke the bear. No need.
Good. So, yeah.
No, we love all Big Ten teams.
Yes, we do.
Kind of. But we respect you all equally.
Yes.
I love you all kind of. I respect you all equally.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? At least we're honest. We're not trying to hide it.
No.
Not trying to pander to anybody. At least not too much. So, yeah, that's it.
No. Unless you like pandering, in which case let us know in DMs and we'll pander more. We'll pander more. We will.
As long as you follow us and you like us.
Follow, like, and subscribe. But actually, please do those things.
Yes.
Like, especially on YouTube, the more subscribers we get, the better. So,
yes, agreed.
Help us with that, please. Even if you're on audio, just go. You've got an email account. Just go to YouTube.
Yeah.
Subscribe. Do us a solid, you know?
Yep.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Should we do our coach draft?
Let's do that.
So John and I decided to do a draft, and each of us is going to pick a coaching staff. But we decided 9 positions to fill was a little excessive. So we're going to each have a head coach, an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator, an offensive assistant, and a defensive assistant. And we can take those coaches, can be any head coach or assistant coach currently working in the Big Ten Conference. So I went first on things to change about college football, John. So I think you should pick first, and you should pick first here, and you can pick for any position. So you can you could go head coach first, you could go assistant, you could go coordinator, you know, wherever you want to go. And the only rule is that we can't pick any of the same coaches.
Okay. I'm just going to start with head coach.
Yeah, man. Might as well.
This one might make you upset.
Okay.
This man has the kind of attitude I respect and wish we had more of with the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has a shit-eating grin like this guy. Nobody loves to rub another coach's face in the dirt more than this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it always puts a smile on my face. Now, it didn't used to, but now it does.
Now that we beat him?
Yes. I'm talking about the Big Orange Brett Bielema with the Fighting Illini as a head coach. I love his style, obviously on the sideline, like with his demeanor, but I also just love his style of play. I love his old school Big Ten FU football. Like, it's just, it makes me happy. I love that he's willing to just run right at you, but also he clearly has enough going on downfield with his receivers and his quarterbacks as well to balance out the game. He knows how to recruit, and he knows how to coach in the Big Ten. This is Illinois we're talking about, that he won 10 games. That is
10 games.
Like, imagine if he was at like an Ohio State or a Penn State,
Oh, yeah. This is at a basketball school that hasn't won 10 games since the first George W. Bush administration.
Yes. So I got to give him credit with that. And that to me just says so much. Now, if he had more resources, he's already terrifying. He'd be even more so. And it just would hurt that much more with his demeanor on the sideline of just making you feel even worse, because he plays a psychological game too, this guy.
He really does.
And
he really makes you feel it.
Nobody's better at it in the Big Ten than him.
I think Fleck has been smart to just be really friendly buddy with him.
Yes.
And like not poke the bear at all.
Yep.
Even when Bielema's kind of passive aggressive in the press, like PJ never rises to the bait and like goes back at him.
Yep.
And I think Bielema respects that, and he hates people who come back at him because he's petty.
Yes.
So I think PJ's played it smart that way. That's how we kind of, that helped us slide by them for victory for sure. But yeah, man, Bielema, look, he was a very good coach at Wisconsin, right? Great coach.
Yeah.
But it was Barry Alvarez's machine.
It was, yeah.
And he went to Arkansas, and you know what? He failed. And that was the greatest thing that ever happened to him, because then he went to the NFL, and by his own words, Brett Bielema got his PhD in football.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, you can see it in the way he coaches. He makes better coaching decisions. He runs more modern concepts, but he mixes it with the old school stuff. It's amazing. And he's an incredible coach. And honestly, man, I think, and I'm going to go off topic just a little bit here, I think that Brett Bielema deserves a first shot at coaching a helmet school. Like, and yeah. I'm not saying he shouldn't stay at Illinois.
I agree.
Like, I'm not saying he shouldn't stay at Illinois. Like, yeah, stay at Illinois forever. That could be great too. But I also think, man, Brett Bielema, if like, I don't know, I'm looking at USC and thinking, what if USC came open? You know what I mean? What if Florida State came open? You know, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah.
And
it would be hilarious to see Bielema in LA. I'm just saying, it'd be kind of amazing.
In LA.
But I think it would work.
Oh, I think it would work great. He's got a huge personality.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, I think, and I'm going to say this really quick because I don't want to get too far into my own navel gazing, but I think if Brett Bielema wasn't the size he is, he would already have those opportunities.
Yeah.
I think people discriminate against him because of his size.
Yeah.
And I think all he does is prove people wrong.
Yep.
And man, I'll tell you what, my biggest fear, and I've said this to you, is that Kirk Ferentz retires and Brett Bielema walks in and returns to his Hawkeye roots. So I want to see Bielema. So Illinois fans, it's not that I'm hating on you. It's that I want to see Bielema far enough away that he can't take the Iowa job.
Yes. I'm with you. That would be worst possible outcome, in my opinion.
Oh, I would hate that so much.
Yes.
We already lived through all those years of him at Wisconsin. It's not fair to put us through him being at Iowa too.
No.
Like don't do that to us. Seems wrong. All right. Well, that's a great pick, man. And you're right. I had a 1A and 1B.
Okay.
And Bielema was my 1B. But my 1A is a guy who promises big and over delivers. A man who says obnoxious things to rivals who have been way better than he is and then backs it up on the field. A guy who doesn't care what you think about him. He's going to talk as much trash as he wants. And that's Indiana head coach Curt Cignetti. And I'm going to say, here's why. If I'm building a team, it comes back to talent evaluation, recruiting, all that kind of stuff. And Curt Cignetti has proven he's a good recruiter, but more importantly, he's proven he's a great talent evaluator. He was Nick Saban's recruiting coordinator during Nick Saban when he was building his dynasty. From 2007 to 2010, Cignetti was his wide receivers coach and recruiting coordinator. And he evaluates talent better than anybody. And you saw this last year. He brought most of those transfers. There was Curtis Rourke from Ohio, and there were a couple others from other places, but most of those guys were from James Madison. So he recruited a bunch of guys to James Madison, which just turned FBS recently, was FCS before that, just turned FBS within the last decade. And he somehow got guys that were good enough there that when he brought them to the Big Ten, they were just as good, just as elite. I think Curt Cignetti is a borderline genius. I think he evaluates talent on another level. I think his teams are hyper organized at a Saban-like level, and they play just detail-oriented, hard, FU, let it fly football. So I think Curt Cignetti, speaking of guys who, if they want, like, I hope he stays in Bloomington forever. Got a soft spot for Indiana fans, but man, Curt Cignetti, if he has another season next year, like he had this year, you got to believe he's going to be in, or even if he wins, like, what if he comes out next year and wins even 8 or 9 games, after what Indiana's done in the past? I think he's a guy who's going to get looks from like other jobs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at what he's done at the worst. Not obviously this last year, but
historically
the worst team in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And by like a long shot.
Yeah.
So this is impressive no matter how you look at it. And
it's
nearly an impossibility what he accomplished.
It was brilliant. It's the greatest coaching job I think I've seen in my entire life. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Bill Snyder at K-State. When he would win 10, 11 games, and you were just like, how'd you do that? How'd you manage that? You were recruiting. I knew a guy who's played for Wazoo, and he said that he wanted to play for Coach Snyder, but there was no way he was spending 4 years in Manhattan, Kansas. And he played in Pullman and said Manhattan was that much worse. So I'm just saying what he did was a borderline miracle. And I just think what Cignetti did, man, I think the guy walks on water. I'm excited to see what he does next. So Curt Cignetti is my head coach.
Okay. Well, I'm going with a theme here. Mine's all about, it's definitely what I want them to do on the field, but I'm all about personalities.
Yeah, totally.
So for my offensive coordinator, I'm just really feeling Big Uncle Mike. Big Uncle Mike Locksley.
Mike Locksley is OC. I love it. All right. Okay.
I'm just seeing, my head coach is already Brett Bielema, and now Mike Locksley on the sideline as well. I feel like they would have a great time. I feel like it'd be so much fun for the players. Yeah. For them, they would have a ball, and it would just be like, and how much fun would those press conferences be? Like both of them talking to the press, it would be incredible. Like,
brilliant.
So many sound bites. So, and I think he's a good offensive mind. I do think he is. He's not meant to be a head coach. Right. But I think he's a good offensive coordinator. And like I said, for me, this is all about feel and vibe. Sure. And I just feel like him and Bielema as a team would produce some pretty good stuff.
Dude, I love it. It's outside the box. I would have never expected you to pick Mike Locksley, like, for anything, but he's a great play caller.
He is.
And like we've always said, he's probably a guy, he was Nick Saban's OC. He can do it, he can do it at the highest level. And he's a guy who probably, just is a better play caller than he is a program builder.
Yep.
So I think, you put him, dude, if he gets fired after this year at Maryland, and I think
he could,
could, they just went 4-8 if they go and they got rated in the transfer portal too.
Yeah.
So if they have another year like that next year, he could easily get fired. Man, it won't surprise me if he immediately becomes a highly sought after offensive coordinator. I love it. Uncle Mike, Mike Locksley. Yeah, it's great. Offensive coordinator. That's awesome. Well, I'm a little worried about about losing out on different people as we go here. So I'm going to go and pick my defensive coordinator right now. You went offensive. I'm going to go defensive.
Okay.
I'm going to pick a guy who just wins. He recruits at the highest level. He's got the championship pedigree. And yeah, he hasn't always won the big one. But man, if I believe, yeah, X's and O's are great, but what I need is some Johnnies and Joes. I'm going to go get Dan Lanning to be my defensive coordinator from Oregon.
All right.
Head coach Dan Lanning. And yeah, I just think, trained all the way up under Kirby Smart, knows how to get the job done, knows how to get stops, going to recruit all day, all night, Dan Lanning.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I like that. And I think that's legit. It would be fun to see him as a DC again. And I think under your current staff too, under your current head coach, it would be pretty amazing to see those two on the field and see what they could put together.
Right.
All right. I'm just going to keep going down the line here. I'm going to go with my defensive coordinator.
Okay.
I had a tough one here.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm picking the right person from this team, from this program.
Interesting.
But again, I'm all about personalities here. All right.
Yep. I like that.
And maybe this is just something I want to see.
Okay.
I want to see Kirk Ferentz as my defensive coordinator.
Kirk Ferentz as defensive coordinator. Wow. Okay. I didn't see that coming at all.
The guy obviously can recruit defensive people. I know Phil Parker is his guy, and I get it. You know, Phil Parker's a genius. Don't get me wrong. But
Ferentz was an offensive line guy.
He was.
But he is a defensive head coach.
And so, and I just again, seeing Brett Bielema, Uncle Mike, and and just watching Kirk Ferentz just like shake his head and just curmudgeon the whole time, because those two clowns are just, joking around and chuckling. So
with gum or a chew in his mouth.
Yeah.
In games it's always gum, but when it's practice he's got a chew in his mouth.
Oh, absolutely.
He does. Yeah. You can tell he's that guy.
This is just like my dream team of personality head coaches in the Big Ten together, and just to see.
Dude, that's kind of like the Odd Couple, and he's like the all button down one trying to deal with Bielema and Mike Loxley telling jokes and talking about the glory days.
Yep, that would be amazing. That's what I want to see. I want to see that dynamic and see what they would look like. So,
dude, that's funny. I love that. I would never. I would have never thought to do that. That's really interesting. All right. Well, I am going to go to my offensive assistant right now. I'm going to get back to coordinator.
Okay.
But offensive assistant, I think what I want is a guy who can recruit game-breaking wide receivers. I want a guy who's been a game-breaking wide receiver himself, who's put game-breaking wide receivers into the NFL, despite the fact that he hasn't been at Ohio State or whatever. I want a guy who's going to row the boat all the way to victory. So as my wide receivers coach / assistant head coach, I'm drafting PJ Fleck.
Love that. Yeah. That's good. And you need that. You need that kind of guy, man. You need him on your staff.
Dude, you need Mr. Positivity.
Yep.
You need the guy who's going to be up all the time, who's going to bring that energy that everybody else feels the need to match. Yep. That guy who's going to recruit nonstop and who has, his techniques for, recruiting people that, trying to get them the whole life program, the whole thing, just the way he does the whole thing. Yep. So, I want, it's a little bit of a homer pick, but I didn't make him the head coach or anything. I'm making him my wide receivers coach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, PJ Fleck.
Well, my offensive assistant / I guess, partial play caller or anyway, I want my running backs coach to be Kotelnicki.
Oh, your offensive assistant is Andy Kotelnicki?
Yeah, I want Andy Kotelnicki as my running backs offensive assistant.
Interesting.
Running backs coach. Yeah. I just think you're going to need somebody who's going to know how to run the ball and create some very interesting and creative offensive schemes, which I think Brett Bielema would be very, very open to. And so you still got that smash mouth football, but under Brett Bielema, I would hope you'd at least have one or two wide receivers that you could actually throw to as well. So
right.
I just think it would be a fun offense. Again, and I think Bielema would absolutely enjoy that kind of an offense as well. So that's where I'm at.
I am pretty upset. I was totally gonna take Kotelnicki to be my OC. I like his style, I like his moxie, and all the different things. But that's okay, because now I'm having the same problem you are, in that I don't know which Ohio State guy I need leading my offense. Do I need Chip Kelly, who is just the offensive coordinator who led Ohio State to a national title, or do I need Ryan Day, who is the head man of that title team, who made the ultimate decisions, who did the ultimate recruiting, because Chip doesn't want to get out there and recruit. And I guess I think for his passing game acumen, for his ability to draw big game wide receivers to him to come play for him, I just have to go with Ohio State head coach Ryan Day as my offensive coordinator.
All right. Fair enough. Totally makes sense.
I know it was kind of the easy way out, but you left it right there for me. You left it right there for me. What are you
going to do? Someone had to take him.
Yeah.
And I get it. And that's totally fair. I mean, you're trying to win national titles here. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm going for more feel,
I know. I love that about
I like
your
the
staff.
vibe. I'm all about vibing on the staff.
Yep.
And so for me, my last pick here for defensive assistant, I want my D-line coach. I want my defensive line coach to have a ton of energy.
Yep.
Just attitude, excitement. I want him young. I want him just, this up-and-comer that is just hungry.
Yeah.
So for my defensive line coach, I'm picking Winston DeLauderberde.
Oh my goodness. Going straight to the source. And for those of you who don't know, that is the Minnesota Gophers defensive line coach.
He is energy. I mean, he gives PJ a run for his money.
Oh, seriously. He really does.
Yeah.
Like, that dude is wired. Like, he's he's crazy. And he recruits at the highest level I've ever seen anyone recruit defensive line at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah. He's hungry, and so he recruits well. The players buy in. They love him. I think that's, again, he's my cheerleader type of coach that I need, that always positive guy on the staff, and he's that guy for me. And I think under Bielema and under who did I have as defensive coordinator?
Your defensive coordinator is Kirk Ferentz.
Well, we need somebody to, have some life in that defensive side of the ball, because Kirk Ferentz is not going to bring that part. So,
oh man, that's going to be so interesting watching that, like him going crazy and Kirk Ferentz just like kind of nodding.
But that way Kirk doesn't have to. Kirk doesn't have to get the guys amped up. He's got someone right there to do it. So there you go. I think that's my staff.
Well, I was worried people would give me a hard time for PJ Fleck as a homer pick, so I'm just glad that you gave me cover and you picked Winston DeLauderberde. So if anyone's gonna hit me up, get hit up as a homer, it's gonna be you. But you know what? I love it. I love Winston. I think he's a brilliant, up and coming coach and recruiter. I think there's a world where in 15 years he's the head coach of the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
He's only 27.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, for my last pick, I had a really hard time because I thought about going the Bulldog defensive line coach route with you and picking, say, a Luke Fickell.
Yeah.
you know? And I thought about maybe Tosh Lapoy from Oregon, maybe Danton Lynn from USC, or even I thought maybe it's time for Ryan Walters from Washington. But ultimately, man, it's Greg Schiano time.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to have Greg Schiano come in, coach my linebackers, call plays, or not call plays, but coach my linebackers, and nickelback. We'll work it out how he's coaching a lot. You know, I don't know what the exact breakdown is,
Sure.
but as a defensive assistant, you know, getting the job done, being awesome, bringing the energy like only he can. He's got an intensity about him, a grizzled intensity.
Yep.
And I think he's a great coach. And I love that he tells it like it is. And I think that's valuable on a coaching staff. You need the guy who did that. Like, do you remember at halftime of the 2023 Michigan game where he clearly knew Michigan was cheating?
Yeah.
And they interviewed him and he goes, there were some things on the field that shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
That's all he said.
Yep.
Yeah. And hey, Michigan, we gave you all your flowers. Go back and listen to the episodes. All we did was praise you last year.
Yes, we did.
But you were cheating, so we do get to make fun of you a little bit about it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun, man. That was fun. I mean,
that was a good time. We didn't have any crossover really.
No, and your team is definitely going to win a national title. Mine will just have a fun time trying to get there. Like...
Dude, your team is fun though. I mean, your team could star in a sitcom about a football team. Oh man. And Kirk Ferentz is like the straight man to everybody else's goofiness.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting that we got through this. Nobody picked. So the other guys, I thought about James Franklin for some stuff. Didn't ultimately get there. Thought about Jonathan Smith from Sparty. Didn't get there. I came really close to picking Brian Hartline to coach.
I did too.
Receivers.
I did too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also came close to not going with wide receivers and having Bob Bostad from Indiana coach my O-line.
Ooh. Yeah. That was a good pick too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we've got some solid staffs here, John, and I think we're going to win a lot of games this year.
I think so too. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for being along for the ride.
Yep.
We appreciate it as always. Get in the comments or hit us up on Twitter. Let us know how you feel about things.
Yep.
And we will see you again next week. And by next week, we will have a more detailed breakdown of what the rest of the offseason is going to look like and when we're going to start doing some of those live streams. So be on the lookout for that. We'll announce that on Twitter as well. And when we do live stream, we'd love for you to come and be there with us live. Be in the comment section, do all that kind of stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And if you want to find us, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podcast Addict. You can find us on Twitter at We Live for B1GSat. You can find Mike here at Alibaba26. You can find me, John, at Norwegian Gopher. And you can also email us, WeLiveForSaturday, b1g@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thanks for that, John, and for another great episode. And we will see you all next time. See you later, folks.